Hey, welcome back, guys. In this video, we're going to be practicing graphing in a slope intercept form, and this is coming from TEK 7.7a. This concept comes back in 8th grade. It comes back in algebra, college algebra, but this video is tagged for 7th grade, so I'm going to use 7th grade vocabulary. So in this one, it says graph the following: y equals half x minus 2. So this is in slope intercept form. The half is my rate of change. And then negative 2 minus 2. In 7th grade, it's your initial value. All right, let's go ahead and get started. My rule is half x minus 2. So I have x values of 2, 4, 6. Those are not numbers you have to use. You can use any numbers you want. I was strategic in using 2, 4, and 6 because I don't want to deal with a fraction, and you'll see why in a minute. So you're going to write your rule 3 times, and then I put parentheses to remind myself that I need to multiply, and I like kids to remind themselves too. My first term, or my first x value, is 2. My second term, or my second x value, is 4, and x and y is known as your independent and dependent. X is independent and y is dependent. For the third term, it's 6. I'll plug that in. Now I got to go back and write minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and simplify this expression so we can get the value of y. Half of 2 is 1, and then 1 minus 2 is negative 1. Half of 4 is 2. 2 minus 2 is 0. Half of 6 is 3. 3 minus 2 is 1. All right, so these are actually my ordered pairs. These are the points that I'm going to graph on my coordinate grid. Okay, so first thing I start is 0, 0, and I'm going to go 2 spaces to the right because my positive values are to the right of the origin. But then I'm going to go down 1 because the values that are negative on the y-axis are below 0, 0, which your 0, 0 is right here. I'm going to label it in case you forget. And then the second point is 4, 0, so the 4 is positive, so I'm going to go over 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't count line, make sure you count spaces. And then I didn't go up or down, so I just put it right on the x-axis because y was 0. The last one is 6, 1, and I'm going to run out of room. I can tell you now. I'm going to just try to eyeball where it would be. So we'll go ahead and graph this. Sorry, that's my dog barking. All right, so I've graphed the ordered pair. When you look at this graph, you read from left to right. If you notice from the farthest left point, it's going up, so this is a positive rate of change. Now I want you to look back at the original equation, and you had a negative 2 there, or minus 2, and then over here, I wrote it over and over, and then if you notice, it crossed at negative 2 on the y-axis. In other words, your negative 2, that was your initial value, and then I'm going to connect your half. And so I should go back. Your rate of change is change in y over change in x. And then in this case, my change in y is 1 and my change in x is 2. So change in y is your vertical change. So I go up 1 over 2. Up 1 over 2. of 1 over 2. Now, I didn't have an x value of 0. I could have used a 0, and I really didn't even need the table. I could have went straight from the equation to the graph, and if you're comfortable doing that, go for it. But based in my experience, kids just are much more successful with the table. All right, well, I have a couple more if you want to stick around. So for this problem, it says y equals negative 2x. So this is not a teaching method, but I always like to just make it a fraction. So this becomes change in y is negative 2. Change in x is 1. Okay, and if you notice, if it's a change in y that's negative, that means it's going to go down. In which I don't like for kids to learn the rise over run, because then they think all lines rise and then they run, and they all don't rise. Some of them go down, and you're seeing this. You're going to see it now. So my x value. Oh, and the rule is also known as process. So if you're one of my students watching this, my video is probably not as great because I still don't feel well. So you'll have to be patient. Okay, so we're going to plug in our x values. And this one will be proportional because there's nothing after the x. Those are my terms that I'm going to use. Oops. This would be 0, negative 2, negative 4, 3 groups of negative 2, negative 6. So now I have my order pair 0, 0. I'll plot it right there. And then my next ordered pair is 1, negative 2. So I'll go over 1 and down 2. For the next one, I go over 2. I'll go down 4. And then for the last one is 3, negative 6. So if you look at my graph, and I did the best that I could with keeping my hand steady, and you start from the farthest left point, which happens to be my origin, and you just follow the line, you're going to notice this line is going down, meaning it's a negative rate of change. It didn't go up, it went down. So your vertical change, and I'll even prove it to you, is down 2 over 1. You're going to go down 2, which is your change in y. Sorry, I should be saying that. And then your horizontal change is 1. Your vertical change would be negative 2. And then your horizontal change, or change in x. Sorry, I'm not doing great today. So it's negative 2 is your change in y. And then your change in x is 1. And if you notice, every time I went down 2, I went over 1, went down 2 over 1, meaning my change in y, I'm going down, and then my change in x, I'm going to the right. All right, so I know this video is getting really long, and if you want, you can stick around for this next example. I try to keep them less than 5 minutes. I'm going to rewrite it. I'm just not a fan of it looking like this. It's not a teaching method. You don't have to, but it just looks weird. I'm going to put my process of negative 1x plus 2. I'll try to go a little faster. You might want to pause the video. See if you can do it yourself. And this is why it's so important to make sure you know your rational operations, because these integers, stuff like that, and fractions, it all comes back to haunt you. All right, so 0 times negative 1 is 0, plus 2 is going to give me 2. One group of -1 is -1, and then -1 plus 2. So if you think about -1 is right here, I'm going to use this number line, and you want to get up, you're going to add 2, and that's going to give you 1. And then two groups of -1 will give you -2, and then plus 2 means you're going to go up 2, and that's going to end at 0, land at 0, and three groups of -1 is -3. So if you're here at -3 and you add 2 means you go up 2, you'll end up at -1. So my ordered pairs are 0, 2, 1, 1, 2, 0. I'm just going to stop with those 3. So let's go over to the graph. And I'm going to, these are my x values and my y. So my first order pair is 0, 2. The second order pair is 1, 1. And my final is 2, 0. And so when you graph it, you can see my rate of change is it's going down. It's a negative rate of change. So my vertical change was -1 and my horizontal change was 1. So it doesn't matter which points you use. I can use this point or this order pair, and this order pair went down 2. Change in y was -2, -2. Change in x is 2. And so look, you got -2 over 2, which gives you -1, which if you notice, that's where -2 is. And then if you pay attention, here, 2, it crossed at +2, which is above the origin. All right, well, thanks for watching and being patient. I'm really sorry. I'm pretty sure it's not one of my best videos, but I hope it was enough for you to understand. Thanks for watching.